following movie is rated PG-13.
Prototypes or 11 civilizations of aliens visiting this planet all the time, all of which are known by the U.S. military, 9 of which are not very good indeed. They're pretty bad news. 2 of which are benevolent. But the man asked, do I tie in the alien agenda to the New World Order? Yes, sir, 100%. I can elaborate briefly. The New World Order right now basically is dismantling countries, governments, telling governments not to war with each other anymore, basically. So that looks good on the outside. They're taking their orders directly from the aliens who've got their own timetable. They want the one world order because they want the planet for themselves. Has been a group of sinister plots to produce biological weaponry to reduce or thin out the so-called ethnic cleanse the population of the planet by 5/6, or roughly 5 of 6 billion people, enslaving the rest to work willy-nilly with the so-called people of the New World Order. Now, another peculiar thing is the alien agenda is not really well believed nor understood by a lot of these one-worlders. They don't believe it. They think they've been singled out for their own end of glory, and what they don't know is they're just another human being, and according to the negative or bad aliens, they're just another, we're considered bags of food to them. They don't eat us like we think of a cannibal eating a hunk of meat, but they use our glandular secretions as part of their food base, their blood and our glandular secretions like adrenochrome and other. Like adrenochrome and other kinds of things like this. And in fact, the Atlanta Center for Disease Control has figured out ways that we can combat this and all this kind of thing like that. It might be where these new designer diseases like AIDS and Ebola and hantavirus and all these kinds of things have come up out of nowhere, and these diseases, in quote, almost have a mind of their own. Yes, this lady here. The U.S. government modifying our weather, yes, that's an affirmative. And we have, the U.S. government's been working with the Russians for at least since 1972 and maybe as early as 1966 on weather modification, and it's a well-known fact. And it's well employed. And by the way, they can literally weather modify a hurricane or a tornado out of existence. And the reason they don't do it is pretty obvious. Yeah, right. Or they could actually send a plane inside of a hurricane, for instance, that would blow off an atmospheric bomb or a shockwave bomb in the eye of the thing, and it would completely dissipate. Well, they don't do this, of course. And there's probably other reasons for that, to see which way it goes or what kind of havoc and how we can study the havoc, and we go from there. It's kind of a mixed bag question there. She asks, with martial law being called, will precious metals and all these kinds of things. First of all, hoarding anything will be outlawed. If you hoard food, have a radio, any way of communicating, stash gasoline, these kind of things, you'll just be rounded up, and that'll be the end of you. Martial law is martial law. Martial law is dictatorship of the worst form, or one of the worst forms. And her other part of the question, if I got it right, was when's the alien takeover? Well, the alien takeover right now, and probably will be for probably the next 20, maybe 30, 40 years, will be basically in the background. The idea is to get the one world beast-like government order in place and to thin out the population of the planet. And then, of course, then all heck will break loose from then on. And whether it is, I know often mix Bible and talk, but some people have learned, well, this is already mentioned in the Bible, blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. Well, that may be, but all I can tell you is I've been face-to-face with one of these sinister characters, or a couple of them, at saying the least, and most people would, just the shock of them seeing such a thing would cause them to not be in very healthy mode, frame of mind, as physical as well as mental. He is used to build these underground bases. Well, we have lasers that can drill out or basically deflagrate or melt out a tunnel 7 miles a day. And that tunnel is 28 feet wide, 28 feet high. Complex is a small, complex tunnel. It's big enough for a man to crawl through and inspect. I was one of the people who inspected it, so yeah. What technology? A lot of this is alien technology, readapted for our own use, but a lot of it's our own ingenuity too. So you can bet, how can you tell alien technology? Well, anything that's just absolutely outlandish, like taking a oxyacetylene welding torch and trying to cut into this metal and getting nowhere, obviously, would be metals research, aircraft research and the like, and different tools and products, which things like going to so-called round people up and put them in prison camps. So what a better prison camp than underground, where nobody knows where it is anyway. So once again, these underground bases are most likely been planned as underground prison camps and slave labor factories for the New World Order. New World Order, by the way, is getting, and I'm probably the only person ever talking about this, the New World Order is taking, and the United Nations is taking its orders from, believe it or not, these more powerful outer space alien entities. We might call them the large grays or the small grays. Sinister forces indeed. And you might want to say, well, gee, how come we don't see more of this kind of thing? Well, you can just imagine. If you're only being told 5% or less of the truth, that isn't very much to go on. Or friends or something, get out there and talk. Because one will tell two and two will tell four, and then pretty soon you have a whole room full of people that are in the know. And then from there, wonders can work. What's now known as the alien-human war. 66 Secret Service agents, government workers, geologists, and the like. I almost bit the dust. I could have been number 67. Lost their lives that day because the government lied and knew full well what was underneath. And what we'd done is, out in the desert there, we had drilled four, and a period of a couple of days, we drilled four of these holes that went down several thousand feet, and one of these holes kept bringing up dirty dust and putrefying odors and broken off machine bits and other kinds of things like that. Boring machines as well as lasers came up damaged. And of course, there was a probe that was sent down, and that came up totally missing. And so people were sent down there, and I was one of the people. And when I got down there, of course, the odor was, and remember, I was in a spacesuit type environment. All I had was a small tool belt with special sensors, a small rock hammer, and a rucksack for mineral specimens and other kinds of things like that. And I had my little pistol. And being an engineer, didn't have time to carry a big hunk of pistol like most of these Green Berets carry, stuff like that, Black Berets. I carried a little Walther PPK with a 9-shot clip. As soon as I got down this hole, standing about from me to this gentleman over here in the front row, 10 or so feet away, 7 feet away, something like that, was one of these 7-foot-tall stinking alien guys, and I didn't waste any time. I said, I'm not fiddling with you guys, and boom, away you go. And I was one of the rare few that had been allured that this may or may not occur, and so basically was given ET training, but a lot of these other people weren't. Asked, are there aliens in the area? And of course, the big question was no. And that was a big lie. And of course, 66 people died that day. I have a big hole in my chest.
The devil's hands have been busy. What is it?
It's real flesh and blood, though it seems to heal itself quickly. The heart is human and very powerful. The brain, too, but with a chip interface.
What have you done to me?
It has a hybrid nervous system. One human cortex, one machine.
Blair, what have they done? Who built you? My name is Marcus Wright. You think you're human? I am human. Manufactured. I was born August 27, 1975.
I lost a leg. My lung was literally burnt out of me. My fingers burnt off of me. My toenails burnt off of me. My skin was, I was in radiation isolation therapy for 400 plus days. My bones were vitrified or burnt. I was cooked. I managed to survive.
Let's see what we've got here.
In this future, I don't know that we can win this war.
This thing is something we've never seen before.
Boot camp, prison camp, right up in Cheyenne, brand new. And I was here 3 months ago. I wasn't there. So it's something brand new. In Colorado, yes, there's about 4 underground bases, one being at Denver International Air Base, I call it Air Base, Spaceport, or whatever you want to call it. Denver International Airport. No wonder your luggage gets lost. There are 8 levels underneath the airport, tarmac there, end quote, tarmac or cement mac. And so those bags could be there for a damn long time. Why, just imagine if this was instantly turned to agate 30 or more million years ago, those bags could very well be the same way. So yeah, there's a number of them.
The white zone is for immediate loading and unloading of passengers only. There is no stopping in the
Trains, the better part of Mach 2, going from coast to coast in an hour and a half, faster than any jet plane that we got, including the SST, or thereabouts, the same rapid speed. But I helped build a lot of these tunnels, and all of the underground mountain or military bases are connected, all of them, all 131 of them. They're connected both by road, not a big freeway under there, but that's at least a 2 to a 4 lane road, rather narrow lanes, but they're there, and there are also high-speed freeway under there, but that's at least a 2 to a 4 lane road, rather narrow lanes, but they're there, and there are also high-speed magneto-leviton train tunnels. Yes, this lady over here. levels of military personnel know about this. Most of the levels of military know about this, especially the higher levels, higher officer levels. The enlisted, I'm sure, don't, or are basically kept in the dark like we are, end quote, we are. So, yeah.
Never stopping in a white zone.
Don't tell me which zone is for stopping and which zone is for loading.
Listen, Betty, don't start up with your
Kept
white
in
zone
the dark
shit
like
again.
we are, end quote, we are. Well, there's 131 of them in the United States, 127 of them in the lower 48. There's some in Canada, I'm not counting those. There's some in northern Mexico, I'm not counting those either. They average about 4.25 cubic miles hollowed out underground, an average depth of 5,700 feet underground. Average cost $17 to $31 billion each. They employ anywhere from 1,800 to 10,000 people.
Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the barefoot king composing hallelujah, hallelujah.
Cost $17 to $31 billion each. They employ anywhere from 1,800 to 10,000 people. And some very large ones now being built in Sweden, one of which is repudiated to be 30 cubic miles. It will take 5 years to build that one at a cost of about $2 trillion. And that's all being supplied by the United Nations. Okay, you want to know exact locations of all these? Well, for where all of your Army, Marine Corps, Navy, and Air Force bases are, they're with all the present, not the ones closed down. By the way, the closed down bases are now being used for gasoline storage and equipment storage and these kind of things. So they're not really closed down yet. Boot camps, end quote, boot camps and all this kind of stuff. So-called prisoner camps and these kind of things. Right now, our police, for instance, are being trained by the Air Force and the Army intelligence in martial law research, as they call it. How dare they call that by that name?
Humans have a strength that cannot be measured. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance. Sully has changed. Schneider is taking human prisoners. Replicating human tissue.
Let's see what we've got here.
I don't know that we can win this war.
This thing is something we've never seen before.
You think you're human? I am human.
And they're mostly for equipment storage. Denver, and then there's Fort Collins. There's also Colorado Springs area has an operator. By the way, Colorado Springs is kind of a famous area. Nikola Tesla's laboratories were in Colorado Springs, and need I say more? I'll leave. The state of Nevada is 81%, end quote, managed or owned by the federal government. The land is either restricted or run by the federal government. That's why they have Are these tunnels connected to large caverns? Yes, these large bases are basically like this Coliseum. Everything's underground. Everything's a city underground. Most of these bases have military bases, and they have all the accoutrements of life. Remember, each one of these costs quite a bundle of dough, and some of it in our tax money, but most of it in clandestine approaches, and that's definitely undermining the country. Yes. Some of them have a difficulty in understanding our language. It's too slow to them. If you've heard whale songs or bird chirpings at high speed, it's about what these aliens sound like.
Mars. There was some point, some spot on the Jupiter of different color. He doesn't remember the color, but remember there was a spot.
A spot on Jupiter.
Yes.
You saw these planets how?
В пространстве. Kind of a space.
Я плохо рисую, поэтому я точно не могу рисовать.
And you see these planets from a spaceship or from the planet, or how did you see them?
Ну да,
From a spaceship.
From a
с Марса не
spaceship.
увидишь.
You cannot see them from Mars, really.
I see.
Не, ну, вообще, когда летал там в космосе, на Марсе еще когда жил.
He just remembers stuff about Mars. Right. What's important to note is he was never taught any of the astronomy in school.